Hello everyone! In this video recorded lesson, I will be discussing about sampling distribution of the sample mean for normal population when the variance is known and unknown. So, what does it mean kapag sinabi nating sampling distribution of sample mean for a normal population? If a population is normal or normally distributed, then the sampling distribution of sample mean is also normally distributed no matter what the sample size is. Ibig sabihin, kahit anong kunin natin na sample size from the population, as long as na normally distributed siya, ang sampling distribution of sample mean ay normally distributed din. So, ano itong sinasabi nating normal population? A population has a precisely normal distribution if the mean, median, and mode are all equal. Now, paano natin masasabi if the population variance in a given situation is known or unknown? So, kapag given ang ating population variance, of course, the population variance is known. Kapag naman given ang population standard deviation, we can solve for the population variance by squaring the value of the population standard deviation, then the population variance will be known. At kapag naman given ang sample, population mean, and population size, we can solve for the population variance using its formula, then population variance will be known. And for the standard error, the formula to be used is sigma over the square root of n. So, kapag ang given naman ay mean, standard deviation, and variance of sampling distribution of sample mean, then the population variance is unknown, since nothing is mentioned about population. We cannot solve for the population variance. Then for the standard error to be used is the s all over the square root of n. So let's what do we mean by that standard error? It indicates how different the population mean is likely to be from the sample mean. It tells you how much the sample mean would vary if you were to repeat a study using new samples from within a single population. So let's have here an example. The number of customers who went on a milk tea shop per day in 1 week has a mean of 44 and a standard deviation of 11.51. Suppose that a random sample of size 30 is taken from the group of customers. So the first thing we need to do is to identify the given. So the given here is population mean of 44, and then a population standard deviation of 11.51, then the sample size, which is equal to 30. So based on the given, is the population known or unknown? Since given ang ating population standard deviation, which is 11.51, we can get the population variance by squaring the value of the population standard deviation. So, dito yung standard deviation natin is 11.51. Then, makukuha natin yung population variance by getting the square of the value of standard deviation. So, this will be equal to 132.48. Therefore, the population variance is known. Next, what is the formula that we're going to use for the standard error? So, since the population variance is known, we'll be using sigma over the square root of n. So, sigma is 11.51, and then the square root of n is equal to 30. So, this is equal to 2.10. So, Anong ibig sabihin nito? The mean number of customers who went on a milk tea shop in 1 week is 44. And since it has a low standard error, which is 2.10, it means that the number of customers per day are less spread out from the mean and are consistent. The sample mean score is closely distributed around the population mean. Okay, so next example. The winter melon milk tea ordered by the population of customers has a mean size of 16.8 ounces and a standard deviation of 5.15 ounces. You took a sample of 5 customers to determine their mean size. So first, identify the given. So we have the population mean, which is 16.8 ounces. And then the standard deviation, population standard deviation, which is 5.15 ounces, and the sample size is 5. So next, based on the given data, is the population known or unknown? So again, since the standard deviation is known, we can get the square to get the value of the population variance. So 5.15 square would be equal to 26.52. So this would be the value of the population variance, therefore it is known. So, ano yung standard error na gagamitin natin? Again, it would be the sigma, which is sigma over the square root of n. So, yung sigma is 5.15 and the sample size is 5. Then, this will be equal to 2.30. Ibig sabihin, since it has a low standard error, which is 2.30, then it means that the sample mean of the winter melon milk tea sizes is closely distributed to the population mean. Next example, in a milk tea shop, the mean waiting time for the customers to order has a standard deviation of 11.56 seconds and a standard error of 5.8, and find the sample size. So the given are the population standard deviation, which is 11.56, and the standard error, which is equal to 5.18. So, is the population variance known or unknown? So, since the standard deviation is given, which is 11.56, we can get again the population variance by squaring its value. So 11.56 squared is equal to 134. Therefore, the population variance is known. Ngayon, paano natin hahanapin yung sample size? Since the population variance is known, gamitin natin yung standard error formula na sigma is equal to square root of n. Now, since given yung value ng standard error natin, which is 5.18, gamitin natin siya. Then, the sigma is equal to 11.56 divided by the square root of n. Now, we cross multiply. 5.18 times the square root of n is equal to 11.56. Then, we divide both sides by 5.18 para maiwan lang yung square root of n. So, square root of n is equal to 11.56 divided by 5.18. Now, para matanggal yung square root, we're going to square both sides. So, makakancel na siya. N na lang yung maiiwan. Then, this will be equal to 2.23 squared, which is equal to 4.98 or 5. So, therefore, the sample size would be equal to 5. So, N is equal to 5. Next example, you took a sample of 35 members in your barrio to determine the mean heart rate of healthy individuals. The results shows that the sample mean is equal to 70 and the sample standard deviation is equal to 10 beats per minute. So the given are the sample mean. Sample mean, since it is describing the sample, which is the 35 members, and the standard deviation, which is 10, and then the sample size is 35. Next, based on the given, is the population variance known or unknown? So now nothing is mentioned about the population, so we cannot solve for the population variance, therefore it is unknown. So for the standard error, we're going to use S, which is equal to S sub x bar, which is equal to the S over the square root of N. So yung S natin is equal to 10 and yung N is 35. So 10 over the square root of 35, that is equal to 1.69. So it means that since it has a low standard error, which is 1.69, it means that the sample mean of the heart rate of healthy individuals is closely distributed to the population mean. So next example, the mean weight of randomly selected 15 teenagers in your barrio is 51 kilograms with standard deviation of 2.2 kilograms. So the given 51 kilogram, that would be a sample mean since it describes the selected 15 teenagers. 51 kilograms, and also the standard deviation, that is 2.2. Then the sample size is 15. Now based on the given, is the population variance known or unknown? So nothing is mentioned about the population, so we cannot solve for the population variance, therefore it is unknown. For the standard error to be used, this would be S over the square root of N. So yung S natin is 2.2 and N is equal to 15. So 2.2 divided by the square root of 15, that is equal to 0.57. So the mean weight of teenagers is 51 kilogram. Since the standard error is 0.57, it means that the sample mean weight is closely distributed around the population mean. So another example, in your barrio, the mean height of teenagers is 166.7 and has a standard deviation of 14.14 and a standard error of 4.47. What is the sample size? So first, we're going to identify the given. So yung population mean natin is 166.7 and then yung standard deviation is 14.14 and standard error, which is equal to 4.47. Now, is the population known or unknown? So since given ang ating standard deviation, we can square this one para makuha natin yung population variance. So 14.14 square, that would be equal to 199.94. Therefore, the population variance is known. So, for the sample size, gamitin natin yung standard error formula na sigma is equal to the square root of n. So, yung standard error natin na given is 4.47. Then, yung sigma is 14.14 divided by the square root of n. That is unknown. So, we're going to cross multiply 4.47 times the square root of n, which is equal to 14.14. Then, we divide both sides by 4.47 para yung square root of n lang ang maiiwan sa kabila. So, square root of n is equal to 14.4 divided by 4.47. That would be equal to 3.16. Now, para matanggal yung square root, we're going to get the square. So, makakancel na yan. N is equal to 3.16 square is 10. So, the sample size is equal to 10. The sample size of the teenagers is 10. So, that's all. I hope you have learned how to determine when the population variance is known or unknown in a given situations.